if you tend to take things too seriously, then I have a distinction that might help. Of course, some people need to take things more seriously, but they probably don't watch this channel. So I'm going to mainly speak to the first group like you, who, like me, tends to take things too seriously too often. And the distinction I wanted to share is around our use of the word serious itself. Definitely true in English, and I'm pretty sure it's true in many other languages too, that it actually has two meanings, and we can get confused, and separating them out can help us see where we need to be approach things in a serious way and where actually there are more effective ways. So the distinction is this, that serious can refer to an issue being important or not important, but it can also refer to the attitude that you bring to an issue being either solemn or playful. So you might think of it as heavy or light. So I've drawn a little diagram. Look. So if you think of the issue here, that can be as important or not important, and your attitude that you bring to it could be serious, solemn, or playful, or you might think of it as heavy and light, can be another way to conceptualize it. And we sometimes get confused and assume that important things have to be dealt with in a heavy way, and that can be a trap. So this feels like the intuitive one, right? That if you're flying an aeroplane across the Atlantic, that's not a time to be messing around trying some new ideas, right? Or if you want to bring up a sensitive issue with someone, then that's probably not the time to be joking around too much. It kind of makes sense intuitively. And the other place that makes sense intuitively is this one here, where something's unimportant. And we sort of know that if we're playing a game, it's supposed to be done in a playful, joyful way. That's the whole point of doing it. And we notice when someone gets it wrong and they start getting too serious about the game. We're like, hey, dude, chill out. It's just a game of crazy golf. Don't get all like uptight about it. It's supposed to be fun. And we notice it because they've missed the point. They've started treating it in a serious way when actually the whole point was to create some joy. So this is the first place where we sometimes trip up, is finding things that aren't important, but treating them in an uptight, somber, solemn way. And this is where perfectionism lives, for example, where tiny little details are there and we're thinking and thinking about it as if it really, really matters, and it's going to have serious ramifications in the world when it's not. It's also where worry lives in general, where we're thinking about things that really don't matter, but making them very solemn and treating them in a serious way. So this is one place that can help, is noticing what's unimportant and learning to lighten up about it. But the even more elusive area is this one here, where something is important and the most effective way to approach it is in a light-hearted or playful way. So your well-being is important. And part of your well-being is having fun and laughing and being with friends and connecting. That's an important thing. And you treat it in a playful way, not because you don't care, but because that's the best way to tap in to that important aspect of your well-being. And also, even like more specifically, if you want to get fit, if you're treating it all very, very seriously, then that can sometimes get you started, but we run out of steam. If you're exercising, if you can do it joyfully and lightheartedly, then that's going to feel a lot better for most people and be a lot easier to stick to. It's a more effective approach. There's your well-being. Another one might be in therapy and coaching. Like I know with my clients, sometimes we have quite touching, serious moments, which are beautiful. But then also sometimes clients are laughing about their problem, or they're kind of smiling about what's happened. And that's important too. When I see that happening, I know, yeah, they're finding some distance from the thing that was on their mind, some looseness. And that's where change can happen in your relationships. If you don't provide your relationship with the fuel of lightness and playfulness over here, then you can often end up in quite serious, heavy discussions over here. And actually what was missing was this part. And fourthly, if you're in business, you know that you need to be creative and innovative and come up with new products and services and ideas for marketing and things to put on Facebook and that kind of thing. And if you get too uptight and serious about that, it becomes very difficult to do because it feels so weighty. And you can very easily get stuck in analysis paralysis and never doing anything. And the way forward actually is to loosen up and treat it in a more fun way, more light-hearted way, so that then you can get going and try stuff, and some stuff will work and some won't, and you'll find out. Nobody knows in advance. You only find out by doing it. Huge companies like Google give their engineers some time to work on projects that they think would be useful outside of management control. So nobody's controlling them or telling them to get a particular outcome. They're exploring it, playing with ideas. And it's from that time that products like Gmail and AdSense emerged, which are now huge parts of Google's empire. You often can't know in advance and plan it all out and write it all down on a list. Sometimes the most effective way is trying things and being loose enough to see what happens. Being open to spontaneous creativity and discovery and new ideas. Not because it's not important, but because it is important, and that's a good way to do it. And in the bigger picture, like being human it's kind of a ridiculous thing to be, right? You know, we have all these different parts of ourselves. There's our drives and our emotions and our intellect, and they're often pulling in different directions at the same time. And we can drive ourselves crazy and get all stuck about it, or learn to recognize and laugh at the kind of the madness of being human. A lot of wise people also laugh and smile quite a lot. So I'm thinking of the Dalai Lama, for example. You know, he's engaged in important work and a lot of reflection, and also he has a lightness around his manner. So yeah, you might consider what areas of your life you're putting where, and in particular, what things are unimportant but you're getting too serious about, and what things are important and would be best approached in a more playful way. That could be because it leads to more creativity and innovation, or it might be that you're making something feel heavier than it needs to be. So Tim Ferriss has this question, like, what would this look like if this was easy? And maybe there's a thing that's not loads of fun, doing your accounts, for example, if you don't really like doing that. But to what extent are you making it feel heavy and difficult on top of the task itself? And maybe you could let go of some of that heaviness and approach it in a lighter way, make it feel easier for yourself. There's some ways you can apply it. In my therapy and coaching work, I help people with people pleasing and perfectionism. And I also teach improvised comedy, not so much for performance, but to help people connect with that playfulness and creativity and lightness and connection with what inspiration they find bubbling up rather than stuff they're planning in a serious way from above. And also just to mess around and have fun and bring some joy and connection into people's lives. So there are two different websites. I'll put both of them under this video. If you've got any thoughts, I'd love to hear them. Put them in the comments. I will check back and reply to all of them. And until next time, I wish you well and have a great rest of your day.